February 17, 1991. A young woman sits at her kitchen table in Matamoros, Mexico. She is writing her own death certificate 24 hours before anyone would find her body. Martha Puebla sealed an envelope and handed it to her sister. Inside was a name, a method, a motive. The question I cannot stop asking: how did she know? I pulled the file 3 weeks ago. Case number 91-0247, filed February 20, 1991, Matamoros Municipal Police. Victim: Martha Elena Puebla Rodriguez, age 23. Occupation: secretary at a local import business. Residence: apartment 4B, Calle Herrera, Colonia Centro. The file is thin, disturbingly thin for a homicide. Martha had no criminal record, no history of drug involvement, no documented enemies. Her employer described her as quiet and punctual. Her neighbors called her pleasant but private. Her family said she had become increasingly withdrawn in the weeks before her death. The responding officer's initial report lists the cause of death as ligature strangulation. Time of death estimated between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. On February 18, the body was discovered by her landlord on the morning of February 19 after she failed to answer her door or phone. There was no sign of forced entry, but there was something the police did not find at the scene, something Martha had already placed in safer hands. The apartment was small, a single bedroom, a kitchenette, a bathroom the size of a closet. When investigators entered on the morning of February 19, nothing appeared ransacked, nothing appeared stolen. Martha was lying on her bed, fully clothed. A thin cord, later identified as a telephone cable, was wrapped twice around her neck. Her hands showed no defensive wounds. Her fingernails were clean. The forensic team noted this as unusual, and then they found the first anomaly. On the kitchen table sat a cup of coffee, still half full, still in the exact position where someone had set it down mid-conversation. Beside it, a second cup, also partially full, also undisturbed. Martha had company. Martha knew her killer well enough to make them coffee. The front door's deadbolt was engaged from the inside. The only window large enough for a person to exit was painted shut and had not been opened in months. Police confirmed this through dust accumulation on the frame. So how did the killer leave? The landlord, Senor Aguilar, told investigators he had a master key. He said no one else had access, but when pressed, he admitted something troubling. A copy of that key had gone missing 6 weeks earlier. He never reported it. I looked for a follow-up on that missing key. There was none. The forensic inventory is brief: 1 telephone cord, manufacturer unknown, 2 ceramic coffee cups. No fingerprints recovered. 1 woman's purse, contents intact including 340 pesos in cash. 1 gold necklace still clasped around the victim's neck. Robbery was not the motive. The autopsy confirmed ligature strangulation, petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes, fractured hyoid bone. Death would have taken between 4 and 6 minutes. The medical examiner noted that Martha showed no signs of struggle, no bruising on her arms, no skin under her nails, no torn clothing. This was not a fight. This was an execution by someone she trusted enough to turn her back on. But there was one problem: Martha had told someone exactly who would do this and exactly how. Her sister, Lucia Puebla, came to the police station on February 20. She was holding a sealed envelope. She told the duty officer that Martha had given it to her 2 days before the murder with specific instructions: if something happens to me, give this to the police. The officer opened the envelope in front of Lucia. Inside was a single handwritten page. This is where the case stops making sense entirely. The letter named a man. It described strangulation. It explained that this man had threatened her multiple times, but that she had no proof anyone would believe. It stated that by the time anyone read these words, she would already be dead. Every detail matched the crime scene. Lucia Puebla gave her statement through tears. She described her sister's final weeks as paranoid and fearful. Martha had stopped going out at night. She changed her phone number twice. She began sleeping with a knife under her pillow. She told me someone was following her, Lucia said. She said he would come to her work and just watch. He never said anything, just watched. When asked why Martha didn't go to the police, Lucia's answer was damning: she did twice. They told her to stop being hysterical. I found the report's 2 complaints filed by Martha Puebla in January 1991 both dismissed as domestic disputes with insufficient evidence. The officer who signed off on both complaints was the same man who would later be assigned to investigate her murder. A co-worker named Rosa Delgado provided another statement. She said Martha had been receiving phone calls at work. Silent calls where someone would breathe on the line and then hang up. Rosa said she witnessed at least 4 of these calls in the 2 weeks before Martha died. The last time it happened, Martha just stared at the phone after she hung up. Rosa recalled, she said, "He's letting me know he's still there. He wants me to know there's no escape." The man Martha named in her letter was Arturo Vega Salinas. He was her ex-boyfriend. They had dated for 8 months in 1990 before Martha ended the relationship. Police questioned Vega exactly once. He denied everything. He claimed he was at a family gathering the night of the murder. 4 family members corroborated his alibi. The investigation stalled. I reconstructed Martha's final day from witness statements and phone records. 7:15 a.m. Martha leaves for work. A neighbor sees her locking her apartment door. She appears calm. 8 a.m. Martha arrives at Importadora del Norte. Rosa Delgado notes she seems quieter than usual. 12:30 p.m. Martha eats lunch alone at her desk. She makes no phone calls. 4:45 p.m. Martha leaves work. Rosa is the last coworker to see her alive. Martha tells her, "Thank you for being kind to me." 5:20 p.m. A neighbor hears Martha's apartment door open and close. No voices between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Martha is strangled. 7:45 p.m. Another neighbor, Senora Fuentes, hears a thump from apartment 4B. She assumes Martha dropped something. She does not investigate. 8:30 p.m. Senora Fuentes notices the lights in 4B go out. She assumes Martha went to sleep early. The timeline stops making sense here. If Martha was killed between 6 and 10 p.m., and she made coffee for her killer, she had to have let them in willingly. But every person who knew Martha said she had become terrified of unexpected visitors. She had installed a chain lock herself. She looked through the peephole before opening the door for anyone, even her own sister. So either Martha recognized her killer and felt safe enough to let them in, or someone had a key. The missing master key was never found. Arturo Vega was never asked if he had it. The official theory, if you can call it that, is that Martha Puebla was killed by a person or persons unknown during a home invasion that was not motivated by robbery. This theory is useless. It ignores the letter. It ignores the 2 coffee cups. It ignores the locked door. It ignores the months of stalking. It ignores the dismissed police complaints. It ignores everything Martha tried to tell people before she died. The unofficial theory, the one that circulated among journalists who covered the case, is that Martha was killed by Arturo Vega Salinas, and that his alibi was manufactured by family members protecting him. This theory explains the evidence. It explains why Martha felt safe enough to let someone in. It explains why there was no struggle. She may have believed he came to talk, to apologize, until it was too late. It explains the 2 coffee cups, but it cannot explain how Martha knew, with such precision, what would happen to her. The letter didn't just name Vega. It described the method: strangulation, not stabbing, not shooting, not beating. The specific method that was used. Was it a guess, an educated prediction based on past threats? Or did Martha see something in his eyes that told her exactly how he wanted to end her life? I contacted the Matamoros Police Department last month requesting access to the original letter. I was told the evidence from case 91-0247 had been lost during a 1998 records transfer. The letter, the dead woman's testimony, is gone. I have read hundreds of case files. I have never encountered one where the victim documented their own murder before it happened and the documentation was ignored. Martha Puebla did everything right. She reported the harassment. She changed her number. She armed herself. She wrote down the name of the man she believed would kill her. She gave that letter to someone she trusted. None of it saved her. Arturo Vega Salinas was never charged. He died in 2008 of natural causes. Whatever he knew went with him. Lucia Puebla still lives in Matamoros. She is now in her 60s. According to a journalist who interviewed her in 2015, she still has a photocopy of her sister's letter. She still believes the police failed her sister twice. First by ignoring the complaints, then by ignoring the confession Martha left behind. Case status: Unsolved. Martha Puebla knew she was going to die, she knew who would do it, she knew how, and she was right about all of it. The case file is closed. But the questions remain open. If someone tells you they know their killer's name, what does it take to believe them? This file is now back in the locker, but the next one I'm pulling, you'll want to be there when I open it.